Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. For those of you who don't know me already, my name is Wayne Trench, and for the last 6 months I've been the CIO here at AIO Insurance Limited. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. For the last 6 months, I've spent the bulk of my time obviously getting an understanding of the way the business runs, but moreover, really getting a handle on our existing IT infrastructure and the areas in which we might be able to improve. As part of this process, I conducted a thorough audit into all of our IT activities and also recently attended a seminar on cloud computing. I have to say that I left the seminar feeling particularly energized about the opportunity for us as a company to leverage the cloud environment to deliver real commercial gain to our business, and that's really the catalyst for the presentation today. In terms of an agenda for today's presentation, I'd like to give you my vision for our IT future initially, and then provide an introduction to cloud computing. Following that, we'll then look at the pros and cons of cloud and why I believe cloud is important for AIO, as well as the outcomes that will be delivered. We'll then take a look at the types of cloud service and deployment models and why I've selected private cloud as the preferred method. We'll then have a look at the suggested approach for deployment as well as the potential infrastructure requirements. Following on from that, we'll look at the financials and more specifically a business case as well as a sensitivity analysis, and then we'll provide some recommendations and conclusions. Following on from that, we'll have the opportunity to just discuss a few of the lessons that I've learned throughout this project, and I'll also provide a list of references for anybody who's interested in conducting some further research. I think it's fair to say that for AIO and the insurance industry as a whole, change is needed. We're rarely seen to be at the forefront of IT technology adoption. That said, we have an opportunity to differentiate ourselves and deliver tangible commercial benefits through our IT vision, which for me is for AIO employees to have access to state-of-the-art IT tools and service wherever they work, for our executives to be secure in the knowledge that the company's information is protected effectively and consistently, for the entire group to be able to communicate and collaborate seamlessly, and of course to provide all of the above in the most cost-effective manner possible. In my view, to achieve this, we need to transition from our existing antiquated approach to newer, more advanced cloud-based technology. AIO private cloud can deliver against our objectives whilst also being cheaper over the medium to long term. For those of you unfamiliar with cloud computing, essentially it is a model for enabling convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. In short, cloud provides fast, stable and secure access to anything from anywhere. There are questions about when cloud was originally born, but many accept the date as being 2006, when the former Google CEO Eric Schmidt introduced the concept and Amazon launched its elastic compute cloud. Cloud technology since then has gained significant traction with many corporations around the world who have employed it in various ways. Some of these companies include Aston Martin, Europcar, Xerox, Samsung, and one of our major competitors, Aviva, just to name a few. Let's take a look at the pros and cons of transitioning to cloud. On the plus side, cloud will deliver reduced downtime, lower IT costs, improved disaster recovery capability, improved protection of IP assets and security, more optimized network connectivity, global infrastructure standards and operating processes, as well as a platform for rapid IT upgrades, also deliver us improved productivity and reliability, as well as scalability and elasticity. On the downside, there is the risk of potential technical issues as well as some security breaches. The upfront capital cost may be slightly higher than first anticipated, and it also requires fast, stable internet connectivity. From my perspective, the pros far outweigh the potential cons, and the risks that are there are relatively minimal, and in my view can be mitigated through the implementation of appropriate cloud infrastructure and the ongoing management of the same. Cloud will provide a step change in technology to improve operational efficiency, security and scalability whilst reducing our costs. So having reviewed the more generic pros and cons for cloud, I wanted to take a look at why I think cloud is specifically important for AIO. There are a variety of reasons why that might be so, but I boiled it down to the 4 key things that I think we should consider. Firstly, value for money in IT operations. At present, more than 40% of our total IT spend is related to non-value-added infrastructure-related activities, and this is substantially more than the industry best practice of less than 30%. In addition, each geographical location currently attempts to fulfill the same basic requirements in its own way. As well as this being a waste of time and energy for no real discernible benefit, results do vary widely from location to location. Secondly, risk management. As it stands, virtually all of the group's intellectual property resides on its infrastructure, but this infrastructure exists with inconsistent security approaches, limited to no monitoring, very little testing, and no auditing. I think there's a lot of efficiency gains to be had here. Secondly, cybercrime has been identified as one of the major risks to corporations, and AIO is no different to that. In recent times, security-related incidents have been proven to occur within the AIO group on a regular basis. And based on a recent study, the annual cost of cybercrime to US-located businesses, as an example, is around $1,830 per user, which for us could equate to almost $1 million per year. Thirdly, agility and execution capability. The fragmented IT approach that we have is a real barrier to effective collaboration and also stifles our value chain excellence. The delivery and availability of timely, accurate information to both our staff and clients, wherever they are, is imperative to ensuring the success of our business. You'll notice that on the next page of your handouts, I put together a detailed list of outcomes that private cloud will deliver, and I'd encourage you to review those at your leisure. I'd now like to briefly take you through both the cloud service and deployment models, and then look at the suggested approach that we have put on the table. In terms of the service models that are available, SaaS, or Software as a Service, allows users to access service providers' applications on cloud infrastructure. Some examples of these include both Salesforce and Google Apps. Platform as a Service allows consumers to deploy external applications to the cloud. Users can't control the infrastructure, but they can control the deployed applications. Some examples include Microsoft Azure and Amazon Relational Database Services. Finally, Infrastructure as a Service provides fundamental computing resources, including networks, processing, and storage. Users can deploy and run software, including operating systems and applications. Examples of these include Amazon EC2 and Rackspace Cloud Servers. I'd now like to take a look at the four main cloud deployment models, which are public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and the hybrid cloud. Public cloud is typically provisioned for general public use, whereas a private cloud environment is normally used for a single organization and is typically within a firewall. Community cloud is often shared by several organizations and is typically externally hosted, whereas a hybrid cloud is actually a composition of two or more clouds that remain unique entities, but they're bound together, which offers the benefits of a multi-deployment model. For us, I would suggest that AIO adopts a private cloud model, with AIO retaining ownership of its key IT assets, whilst using a managed service from Dell, which provides both security, customization, and control. We will compromise some benefits of both the public and hybrid models, but private cloud will deliver against all of our needs and, importantly, in a secure and stable environment. We can also look towards moving to a hybrid model in time if we believe the value. I'd now like to take you through my suggested approach for the rollout. As flagged already, I suggest that we adopt a private cloud environment given its improved security and control measures. I then suggest that we actually procure a majority of our own infrastructure, but that we host it in the Dell data centers. Whilst the upfront cost is going to be a bit higher, it will deliver lower total ownership costs over the life of the project. I then suggest that we leverage Dell service for ongoing management and disaster recovery. In addition, I think in order to get the best performance, we need to employ WAN acceleration technology in each of our 5 national locations, but I would suggest that we consolidate the majority of our compute infrastructure in the Sydney head office. I think it's imperative then that we mobilise our workforce, and in particular our front office staff, through the use of 4G-enabled tablets, notebooks, etc. This will really allow them to be mobile and to produce real-time quotes in front of our customers. I think then we need to utilise Dell's proven discovery process for a seamless transition, and with this entire target being to roll this project out to all of our 5 sites within a 12-month period. For more details on the potential infrastructure requirements, please take a look at the next slide in your handout. Notwithstanding all of the cloud-related advantages already presented today, if we look at it from a financial perspective, in colloquial terms, it's a no-brainer. The key assumptions that we've used in the financial model is as follows. The cluster and networking equipment replacement cycle is set at 5 years, whereas the client replacement cycle, be it the tablets and the PCs, are set at 3 years. We've also escalated both our costs and benefits on an annual basis by 3.5%. We've used an income tax rate of 30% and a discount rate of 10%. With all of those assumptions in mind, the NPV of the project sits at about $750,000, which means that this project will add $754,000 of value in today's terms over the course of the next 6 years. The IRR is healthy at 34.5%, which in turn means that the interest rate would need to be in excess of 34.5% for the NPV to be below zero. From a profitability index standpoint, it sits at 1.8, and this suggests that the project should proceed, as any profitability index above 1 should go ahead. In addition, the payback period for the project sits at 2 years and 4 months, which is well within the established hurdle of the group of 4 years. As you can see, the project stands up on every key metric, so there is a very strong case for it to proceed. I've also conducted a sensitivity analysis to provide some colour on what a worst case, best case and most likely scenario would look like. The key sensitivity factors that I've looked at are the replacement cycle for both the cloud infrastructure as well as the client devices, as well as manipulating the revenue accretion through both mobile sales and quoting tools, as well as some differences in the cost reduction through efficiencies, reduced IT headcount and improved disaster recovery, etc. If we look specifically at a worst case scenario, even assuming a replacement cycle for cluster and networking equipment of 3 years and a client replacement cycle of 2 years, as well as modest revenue and operating benefits, the project still delivers in excess of $360,000 worth of NPV and an IRR of 23%. Conversely, on a best case basis, the NPV looks closer to $3.5 million with an IRR of 101%. We've been a little bit more liberal in the operational and revenue gains in the best case scenario, as well as allowing for a longer dated replacement cycle for some of the key hardware. In any situation though, the project looks very, very positive, and as a consequence, I think we can confidently look to proceed. Now, having spoken in detail about the relevant gains to be had on both an operational front and a financial standpoint through transitioning to a cloud approach, I'd like to summarise with a series of recommendations and conclusions. Firstly, a transition to private cloud will deliver significant gains to AIO through lower operating costs, improved efficiency, better security and increased revenues. We can also keep an option to switch to a hybrid model in time if required. By sourcing our own hardware and having it hosted or managed by Dell services, our overall TOC will be lower whilst delivering maximum stability. Also, I'd suggest that we install WAN acceleration technology in each of our 5 sites, but consolidate the majority of our compute infrastructure to our Sydney head office. As discussed earlier, I'd like to target a 12-month rollout cycle, and I want to make sure that we pay particular attention to the infrastructure maintenance and protection to ensure maximum service life. And whilst the project stands up financially in even the worst case scenario, a stage gate approach is recommended to ensure key costs are aligned with our targets throughout the life of the project. In summary, in my view, a transition to cloud is exactly what we need to take us to the next level, and the sooner we can begin the journey, the better. I'd also invite you to take a look at the next couple of slides in your handout to see some of the lessons that I've learned throughout this project, as well as a detailed list of references in case you'd like to do further study. Thank you very much.